21 program, right? Yeah, we're in 21 right now. And we also have built-in time at the end of our time together for you to ask questions. So I'll explain an overview of the AmeriCorps program, and then we'll review the application timeline and the process for submitting the RFP, and then what happens after that. We'll go over sample projects that the AmeriCorps members engage in when they serve at a host site. We'll talk a little bit about what we've done differently this year. I think that relates to the whole QBM option that you'll have, and I'll explain what that acronym means. We'll talk about what makes a quality host site application, and Greg is here from our operations department in full knowledge of some of the financial aspects of the program, as well as other aspects of the program. And then we'll say to you why we think you should choose mass mentoring, because, you know, AmeriCorps, you know, you can get an AmeriCorps member, an AmeriCorps volunteer from other organizations, but we're going to make a case why you should choose mass mentoring. And then again, along the way or at the end, you can ask questions of us. So I'll start first by mentioning our funding. So the funding for the AmeriCorps program comes through the Corporation for the National and Community Service Program. That's the federal part of our program. And then that money comes to us through the Mass Service Alliance, and they work in coordination with us and the AmeriCorps program. And then I think I'm also going to mention, oh, Amanda's coming in, that we got funding last year from the Cummings Foundation, and that's funding that we're going to have, I think, over the next 3-year period, if I'm not mistaken. So it's us, it's Mass Service Alliance, which some of you might know about, it's the Cummings Foundation, and it's the AmeriCorps program underneath the larger branch of the corporation that we call NCCS. So there's that. And then I'm not going to play this for you right now. Maybe I'll play it a little bit. I think we might have time. Let me hold that as a question. But I assembled some of our current members so that they could share with me and with all of you what they believe they bring to their host site. And we have 23 members at 21 host sites this year. And about 6 of them came forward and said, yeah, I'd love to tell everybody what we do. And you can see Lizzie here, Kristen, from PYD. And then we have Ruth with Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have Windry at Chica. We have Carmen at Boston Youth Wrestling. We have Abigail at BFIT, and we have Kylie at Big Sisters. So there were a number of members who wanted to share. So this is the video. I think I won't show it, but you can go to our website and click and hear them in their own words say what they do. And you will notice, I think, the broad range of things that they do, the broad range of opportunities that they provide a host site. And even though we have certain categories of activities that we want people to accomplish, that sort of reveals itself in a very unique way, depending on the host site. I'm going to keep moving along here. So AmeriCorps, since 2008, Mass Mentoring has engaged 200 plus AmeriCorps volunteers at 80 different mentoring programs across the state. So Mass Mentoring, the office where Mass Mentoring is in Boston, but the program itself is a statewide program, and it's a satellite model. We get funding, and then we distribute the funding to host sites across the state. AmeriCorps members are crucial assets in meeting the needs of the mentoring field through their commitment to service. So that's the first thing. And then their desire to make a positive impact in their communities. And I would say that the specific way they want to make an impact is on the, the relationship between young people and adults. And that's who we've attracted generally. And that's certainly who we attracted this past year, despite whatever way in which COVID presented certain obstacles. We are presently almost entirely virtual. I mean, Mass Mentoring is virtual, and I would say most, if not all, the host sites are virtual, with some host sites having some in real life component. And that's within the prerogative of the host site to make that call. We believe that the AmeriCorps Ambassador Program brings a much needed capacity to the mentoring field, both by serving for 11 months on a specific area of need, and then also by generating, leveraging, and sustaining volunteers within people's mentoring programs. So when you apply and are accepted, and I'll explain more about the whole RFP process, you essentially get a full-time AmeriCorps Ambassador of Mentoring. We call that person an AAOM. You get an AAOM slot for 11 months, which equals a total of 1,700 hours of service. So it's essentially full-time. I would go so far as to say it's kind of full-time plus. You also get ongoing project management, supervision, and support for all of the AAOMs from myself, from Janine, from Beth Fraster. I mean, you get support from Mass Mentoring Partnership. You know, we have general things that we offer, and then we try to tailor what we offer to the needs that certain programs have. We provide training and professional development to the AAOMs, extensive training on the elements of effective practice, which if you do mentoring, you must know about. That is the Bible that we use, so to speak, for training the AOMs and helping youth programs better serve young people. We provide ongoing professional development in the areas of nonprofit leadership and personal soft and hard skill development. You know, all of these members this year are trying to figure out, you know, what they want to do right now, but also what they want to do going into the future. And they're really inspiring young professionals. And it's my job, and I think it's sort of our job, to keep them excited and committed to staying in the field. And so we do a lot to promote that. And so some of them go on and get a job. Some of them actually serve a second year. We have 2 second years right now. And some of them apply to grad school and hopefully go to grad school and come back. So again, we try to tailor and provide personalized TA, and then just providing access to the whole national service movement that exists across the country. All right, this is a slide that I really need to change because quite honestly, it's hard to read, but this is our logic model. And I just want to draw your attention here to the long-term goals that we have, because we have certain inputs which relate to activities and then outputs. And then we have short-term, medium-term, and long-term outcomes. And again, what we're trying to do is make it so that every young person in Massachusetts has access to quality mentoring relationships, regardless of who they are and or where they live. And we get every year a vibrant and active network of mentoring and youth serving providers who share best practices and raise their voices to advocate for youth, in particular, marginalized and disenfranchised youth, wherever they might be. So I'm going to keep going. Really, truly, if you have a question as I go along, I can maybe be a little fast. If my pace is not slow enough for you to understand, feel free to just, you know, shout out a question. So approximately 75% of the 1,700 hours are directly spent in coordination at your host site. And then 13% of the time of the member is sanctioned for what we call monthly program days here at MMP. And this is where we spend time focusing on professional development, training in the elements of effective practice, as well as providing seminars on nonprofit leadership, supported by our partnership with BU. And we've been doing that for a few years, and it's a great program. So we have whatever training and support that we provide through MMP. And last night, for instance, we hosted from 7 to almost 10 o'clock training on talking circles, and the members were invited to come. So there's the once a month program day and the once a month BU seminar. And then there are other trainings that we offer along the way. The last slice of the pie are the service projects throughout the year that the AAOMs plan and complete in accordance with our AmeriCorps requirements. And the first being the creation of our Youth Mentoring Day at the State House. Now, this year, because of COVID, we were, I would say, limited in our ability to do what we normally do, but then we just actually hosted a virtual event. Did you want to say more about that, Janine, in terms of what it normally might look like?
Sure. And you know, who knows with COVID and everything else what it'll look like in the future, but in the past, our AmeriCorps members were a major part of the planning and implementation of our Advocacy Day, Youth Mentoring Day. And so not doing actual advocacy, but you know, I always say someone's got to get the bagels, right? Everything was fundraised. So they got a little bit of experience. There was a team who was just on food logistics, a team who was on marketing. And so we always try to make sure that these projects are also skill building so that they can, you know, learn how to run an event, learn how to run a training, learn how to disseminate information to the field. And they're always field enhancing. So they not only build the capacity of the AmeriCorps member learning skills, but Youth Mentoring Day is something that we could not in the past put on without our AmeriCorps volunteers. And so the field-wide projects also, those are things that they have a little bit more flexibility on. And they, you know, our main mandate is it has to be something that increases the capacity in the field, whether it's a workshop, whether it's a recruitment fair, whatever it might be, it has to benefit mentors and mentees and mentoring programs in Massachusetts.
Yeah, and actually, you know, it's interesting you bringing up the field-wide project because this year, again, it's been influenced by COVID and the whole Black Lives Matter movement, but we have 5 field-wide projects going on, and I'm going to see if I can remember them all. Members are creating a digital handbook, if you will, on best online mentoring practices, in particular as it relates to COVID, increasing matching support. How does the US mentoring program compare to the European mentoring program? What ways can we better integrate anti-racism within the mentoring field? And I'm forgetting one, and it's not because it's unimportant, but really the members who have already been with us for about half of their program year choose the topics and then are very invested in creating a product, if you will, that will come back to us, but also come back to you. So again, if you look at the pie, you've got them most of the time, and then we have them for some of the time so that we can train them and support them. And then there's what we're asking of them in terms of a particular service project. Okay, I'm going to keep going along here. So this is just another way to think about it. And this might be where you enter into the conversation, Greg, if I'm not mistaken. So we expect at the host site that you provide weekly supervision. So you really need to have somebody who is the host site supervisor. Sometimes we have wonderful people at host sites who are spread way too thin, and then they take on a member only to realize that they can't really give the member the supervision that they need. So you need to have somebody designated who wants to and can provide weekly supervision. We have the host site oversee what we call the project scope responsibilities, which is part of the narrative within the RFP that is, as Janine likes to call it, the North Star for the member so that they know what they're supposed to do, you know, day to day, week to week, month to month rather. We want you to provide optimal workspace and technology. In the past, that has been a real office with a real phone and a real computer. This time around, it's really providing Wi-Fi if that is for some reason not something that the member has great access to. And then the host site provides support rather in the day-to-day execution of responsibilities, any organizational network building that your host site can offer. These are members learning about, you know, youth work at the host sites that have selected them. And so we want you to share with your AOM the way you would anybody, you know, what your organization does and what you do well and what you struggle with. And then there's you orienting the member to your HR policies and ultimately overseeing their hours in what we call the timesheet approval process. On our end, let's see here. Greg, I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm just trying to make sure if this is where I need you. No, actually it's not. On our end, you know, we provide the stipend and it's a biweekly stipend, travel reimbursement if needed, wasn't really needed this year. There's loan deferment. There's an education award that all members who complete at least half their program year receive, and it's about $6,000, not exactly, but close to that. There's health insurance, as I keep mentioning, there's professional development, there's access to counseling services, there's the alumni network, individualized support, childcare vouchers. This year we have 4 parents of young children, so childcare vouchers mean a lot. And then of course, SNAP benefits that are part of the AmeriCorps program. I'll keep moving here. This is just another way, this is another pie really, for you to see. At least 75% of an ambassador's time must focus on formal mentoring programming and capacity building. Members are not brought in to provide direct service. Sometimes that happens because it's either needed or, you know, we've had to adapt like we did this year. But then up to 30% of the ambassador's time will focus on these other activities that I've been describing. All right, this slide here, you know, I'm gonna change the size of my slide here. So I'm gonna shift now the focus of what I'm sharing by defining the activities that we think fit into a successful project scope. And so there's program development and or startup. So if you're a new program, this would be really the category that you would fall into. And it includes the development of practices and systems in the areas of program planning, management, operation, and evaluation. And I'm sort of emphasizing evaluation because we have a few startup programs that are really focused on that and utilizing the presence of their AAOM in that endeavor. Strengthening current program systems or developing new mentoring initiatives. Okay. And then there's training. This involves creating or strengthening systems to provide initial orientation, training and or ongoing skill building for mentors and mentees to improve the quality of the matches. We talk about that. Are the matches high quality? Projects focus on curriculum development, training delivery, material creation, and program evaluation to support the development of these skills. And this year, again, it's different one year to the next. We have, I think, 1 or 2 people who are still trying to finish college. The rest have already graduated, and we, in fact, have 2 people with master's degrees. So one year to the next, different people are attracted to the AmeriCorps program, and that's kind of that's a piece of demographic information about this current year. Moving on to match support, this includes expanding an organization's ability to support and develop mentors and mentees to increase both the duration and the retention of the matches. Again, this is another thing, if you do mentoring, that you know we sometimes struggle with. Projects focus on evaluating and improving current match support systems and developing new strategies and processes for match support. And then finally, recruitment and marketing. As part of their service plan, all AmeriCorps members must focus on recruiting and retaining qualified mentors for their respective organizations. And some members may solely focus on improving their organization's capacity in this area. So depending on your host site, if you look at these 4 categories, you probably right now have a sense which one is the one you would most want to focus on. And then Janine's going to say a little bit about this quality-based membership application that I, in fact, am still learning about. So take it away, Janine.
Sure. So the QBM piece is for folks who may not be familiar, QBM is our, think of it like a continuous improvement project, right? And I think, you know, some folks on the line are QBM members. It's about 12 years old, and it uses the elements of effective practice to essentially look at your program and say, are you operating at the highest quality possible? So we take into account your specific program, what you do, how you do it, but we look at those elements, which are what Rosie was discussing, recruitment, screening, training, matching, match support, closure. And we also look at your program management and sort of how you're running the program overall, and go through our checklist with you and say, okay, what are you doing for recruitment? What's your recruitment plan? We look at the documents. We help you create documents. We have templates that we give you. And so that project of organizing all the paperwork, of creating new templates, of putting it all in one place, assessing who needs to do what in the organization, is a really great project for an AmeriCorps member to come in and help organize, help learn the elements of effective practice, help learn your program, and help leave you in kind of a better place to be more organized and more structured moving forward. Once you as a program complete the QBM process, you will become a partner level program with M&P, which gives you access to more benefits and services. So our partner level programs, of which there are about 45 or so, and they're across the state, formal structured mentoring programs, get access to things like the Mayor's Mentoring Movement. In Boston, we have a group of programs that do a recruitment campaign with the mayor's office every year. The only way to be in that group of programs is to be a partner level program in Boston. It's essentially a vetting source, us saying, okay, yes, we know that these 20 programs are really, really high quality programs. So yes, mayor's office, send those programs out into the world. In other ways, there's scholarships and funding that you can access as a partner level program. And you also get access to 4 training vouchers per year. So when M&P releases its calendar trainings, they typically, cost anywhere from $100 to $200 per training. Partner level programs can come to 4 trainings for free. And there are other kind of things. If somebody asks us who's doing good work on the Cape, we're going to look at our partners first. So it's a process that every 2 years, someone needs to go through and kind of re-up and say, yes, we're still doing that. Yes, we want to improve these things. So whether you are currently a partner, having an AmeriCorps member kind of do your, it's not a recertification, but kind of re-looking and renewing of your partner level status is a good piece of a project, but the full project of looking at everything in your organization and going through the self-assessment, and then working with one of my colleagues to do essentially a lot of technical assistance over the course of a year is something that an AmeriCorps member, having one person dedicated to it, I think is a really great project.
Yeah, it is. And I say that smiling because I know a couple of them are doing it this year, and it's been a really great process for them as well as the organization. All right, so moving on. So when you submit your RFP, the priorities that we value and that we scrutinize are the recruitment plan, the supervision section, us noticing in what you've written in the application, full understanding of the 70-30 breakdown. And then, we give renewed priority to programs that are innovative and growing. So this is just a quick description of the lens that we're using when we are reviewing the applications that come in. There are some things that are considered prohibited activities, and we have to mention them, A, because they're real, and B, because it isn't always obvious on the face of it what these prohibited activities might be. So when you think about the project scopes, there are certain categories that an AOM cannot contribute to. Your organization may have connections to these items, but the role of the AOM should not be connected to them. So in the little red circles, in the do not do circles here, we have, let's see here. We don't want an AOM displacing a current employee. We don't want them primarily focused on direct service. We don't want them involved in fundraising directly. Let's see. We want them to be involved. We don't want them to be involved with political advocacy, religious instruction, voter registration, or union organizing. And that's about it. And we remind everybody who is accepted into the program what these prohibited activities are, because we ourselves need to be reminded, myself included. All right, so here we are. Yay, the section here that I have Greg come in and explain sort of what we call the host site match. Are you there, Greg?
Thanks, Rosie. And I see you updated the slide for this one. So those are the correct amounts there, it looks like, which is great. So, so I'm Greg Smith. I know some of you. I'm the Director of Operations at MMP. And along with Janine, have been involved with the administration of the AmeriCorps program here, dating back to 2015. And so I'm going to talk about the host site fee here for a moment, but just also want to mention a few things about the additional support that the department that I oversee at MMP provides for the AmeriCorps program. We also are responsible for the administrative side of managing the AmeriCorps program in terms of running the required background checks on all of the AmeriCorps members, and you know, providing the benefits to the AmeriCorps members, getting them paid their stipends, their health benefits, and all sorts of other ancillary benefits that are available to AmeriCorps members. So you know, we take care of that stuff so that Rosie can focus on the programmatic stuff and the fun, exciting stuff. So I'll just talk a little bit about the host site fee. The host site fee is, we base these host site fees off of the size of the organization. And that's not to be confused with the size of the program budget for the mentoring program. If you are if you work in an organization where, you know, you're a large organization and you just, you know, mentoring is a small part of what you do, we would bill or host site fee based off of your total organization budget, not the budget of your mentoring program activities. So that's just a clarifying point there. These host site fees can be billed annually before the program year starts in July, or we can split them into 2 payments, or the most popular option is to split it into 4 separate payments due in July, November, February, and May. Another note about the host site fee is, you know, whatever your host site fee you're paying, if you're, despite best efforts, if it doesn't work out with your AmeriCorps member for whatever reason, I mean, there can be lots of reasons. Sometimes people find a full-time job that they want to take advantage of. Sometimes it doesn't work out for whatever reason, health reasons, any reason, whatever the reason is. If somebody's exited early before they complete their full 1,700 hours of service, then you're only on the hook for the host site fee proportionally to the amount of hours that they served. So you'll be, if you've paid in advance, you know, the single payment option, you'll be refunded the portion of the host site fee that, you know, proportional to the hours that they don't complete. So that sometimes comes up, and I just wanted to mention that. But is there anything else you wanted me to cover, Rosie?
I mean, I'm really glad that you're mentioning sort of your role / the part of MMP, and really there's a lot of other people at the organization aside from myself who are here and wanting to support the host sites. But no, I think it was mostly just explaining the money side, and then we have the correct figures here going forward. So I think we're all set, and I
Sounds
appreciate
good.
you coming.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's see, what is this slide here? Okay, all right, so the RFP timeline. Here we are at the webinar. And then there's the application. It says here a hard copy. You just have to do a digital copy. It's due no later than Friday at 5 p.m., Friday, February 26th. So you've got plenty of time. We then embark on a community review process. And this year, that process is looking like there's going to be an external review committee that we're assembling right now, and then an internal review committee. And we use a rubrics, and I'm involved in the whole process, and so is Janine. And I think we do a very good job bringing a lot of different eyes to the table in regards to, you know, what it is that we're looking for in terms of, you know, a quality application. And then we send out, you know, a notification notice with the host site acceptance, and then you embark on your enrollment process. Oops, this is restating it here. Let me go back, jumping around here a little bit. Okay, so what makes a quality application? We want to know that you understand the program model and that it's, you know, built around this whole notion of capacity building capacity. If you are already an organization, if you were a few years ago and then you sort of stepped away and you want to come back, we would be looking at your past performance. We want to notice that you have a clear supervision structure and that you have a clear supervisor. We want to think about geographic representation along with unique and or special populations that you're serving. We also really like it, and I think it's beneficial when you get a member who is themselves either a part of the community or representative of the community that they will be serving. And we want a clear demonstrated need and an understanding of the population to be served, clear project goals, expected outcomes, including the month-by-month project timeline, and then a detailed recruitment action plan. And I think it's just that you know how you're going to advertise for a member so that you get quality member applicants, and then you find somebody great, right? That's the goal. And this year, I can like say to you, we have, you know, 23 great members. They are impressive and inspiring to me all the time. So I started explaining the whole timeline process. So I'll just let you read this through. Here we are in January. February, at the end of the month, is when it's due. That's when we begin our review process. It's the end of March that we let people know, send out cooperative agreements. And then it's April really that you want to begin your recruitment. And I would say, you know, to try to have somebody no later than May, because the program then starts in August. All right. I didn't know if we were going to be at questions, but I believe that we are. So I'm going to stop the share so I can see all your faces. And yeah, be here to answer any questions that anybody here might have. I know Kristen is a current program. Partners for Youth with Disabilities has 2 AOMs this year. Has anybody here who isn't right now receiving funding for AmeriCorps? Have you received funding from us before at Mass Mentoring? Okay. Oh, Amanda, there, I see you. Old Colony, okay. All right, so Gabrielle, why don't you unmute yourself? I'm just curious where you're from so I get to know people.
Sure, you can call me Gabby, it's fine.
Oh, hi, Gabby.
Hi, so I'm from William James College, and I work, I think we have a couple of, not Mass Mentoring, we have a couple of AmeriCorps Vistas. And the reason why I got on the call was my coworker was kind of like, can you represent us on this call? But also in my role at William James, I'm the coordinator of mentorship and workforce development programs. And in this year, I've launched 5 different mentoring programs for undergraduate and graduate students at William James. So we have one in the counseling department, which is HRSA funded. We have one in the clinical psych program, which is also HRSA funded. We have one in our undergraduate program, and we have a behavioral health service corps, and that's another one. So you have a couple.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
And one of my jobs this year, this was my first year working full-time as faculty at William James, is creating a process and standardizing a process, and I've been doing it all by myself. So I was really interested. It was really, really cool to kind of hear what you were saying about having an AOM come and kind of assist in all the things that I would do myself. I was actually thinking of just getting a work study student for next year to get a bit more help with it, because I'm doing so many other things at William James as well.
Yeah.
I teach and I'm creating a new program. So I was like, oh, okay. But we already have so many partnerships with AmeriCorps that I want to kind of like hop on the call and hear a bit more about kind of what's going on. So it's been really helpful. And I definitely want to take some things back to my colleagues and kind of see what they think, especially I had taken a screenshot of a slide that I was interested in. Can I find it in time? Let us see. Just like, and so for right now, like I train all of the mentors 3 times a year. And I created like a data-driven like mentee match form. I created a peer mentoring guidebook of like 50 pages of like all these kind of resources. Plus like emailing, checking in, end of the month meetings every month for all of the programs. Like this week from 2 to 5, I have like check-ins with all of the mentors that I work with. So a lot to do by yourself.
Yeah.
So I really like the idea. I'm so sorry, your name isn't on your window.
Oh, Janine, sorry.
Janine, sorry, it's okay. I like how you knew I was talking to you though. I like what you were saying about the continuing project.
Quality-based.
Improvement.
Yeah, I was like, I know the acronym, but I don't know what it stands for.
Yeah.
So I really like what you were saying about that, and like the partnership. And I think the hardest part is all of the mentoring programs that I work with are all working with students who come from historically marginalized backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different kind of mentoring that needs to be given. So there's a lot of research that I also had to do and continually have to do, especially as the world is changing, and things to kind of keep in mind. So it was really awesome to kind of hear what you all were saying.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say, we have currently this year is Benjamin Franklin and Quinsigamond Community College, and we work in other capacities with other sort of educational institutions. But I can say at QCC and at BFIT, they were both kind of startup phase programs, and it's really QCC specifically is doing QBM, and they're all done. Their AmeriCorps member is excellent, and kind of just wrapped that up recently. And at BFIT, they last year had an excellent member who kind of launched a peer mentoring program for their members who similar populations. And it's just, I mean, for any program, but I think especially, you know, at schools and other institutions, you all are doing so much. And so to have someone who can just focus on the mentoring and do either the QBM and or the training that you were mentioning. We've got, you know, the Abby last year did all of that, and Abigail this year is continuing with that. So the screening, the training, and kind of having a thought partner, so you have a buddy to think through all of this stuff with, is really important.
Yeah, that's what I kind of zeroed in on, is that support, because I feel like I've done so much of all these other things, that I've standardized all these processes already. So there's nothing about creation. I've done all the stuff. We have a department evaluation. So a lot of the things we are reporting to IRB, Institutional Research Board. So because of all of that, like there's so much data we have, but it's like, what do I do with all this data? And how do I make it, like we have a needs assessment written. So it's like, how can I actually make this program better? And it's hard having that conversation with yourself.
Yes. Yeah, no, this is the thing. I think, you know, everybody here, this whole sort of private nonprofit thing, and it's people power, but it's also expertise. And I don't know if this was clear in what I shared. It is, you know, you getting us and us getting you, and then you all having more access to each other as different host sites. And so there are conversations that we facilitate that I think lead to other conversations and other interactions that host sites have then with each other. And I know folks from QCC have talked with folks at BFIT this year, if only through their members. So it's great. It's great. I want to make sure if others have like very specific questions that are general. Yes, Bert.
Two kind of logistical things. Rosie, a minute ago, you were talking about member recruitment in like May. Does that mean that I recruit, if I were a partner, I would recruit my own ambassador?
Yes, thank you. Yes, so you all, we think, have the best understanding of who you need. So I don't want to even use the word permit. We recognize that you know the most who you most need. And so we let you do the search, and we provide various supports. And along the way, some programs sort of get somebody really quick, and other programs are sort of like, wow, I can't find anybody. So whatever your situation is, we help you. But you then, after you've advertised and have interviews and then have a finalist or maybe more than one, then I come in and I say, okay, let me help you out with that, sort of final process. And then, MMP sanctions, if you will, the person that you've selected. But yeah, it's driven by the host sites, who you want, where you look, and then we do our best to provide support. And we do outreach and publicity and marketing from our end. So it's a collaboration, but you're sort of leading the charge, if you will, in looking for and finding who you want.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing was, you mentioned a supervisory structure and the project scope and that kind of thing. Are there other reporting requirements, or are there reporting requirements?
Yeah, great. Excellent question. So let's see, at the beginning, I know these are the things that I skip over, but they're not unimportant. So the members are filling out monthly reports. I like to meet with everybody basically one-on-one at the beginning of the year, just to check in and see how you're doing. There's a mid-year evaluation form, if you will, but it's basically a supervisor's tool to use for you and your member to check in with each other about how things are going and what's going well and what can be improved. And I just basically witness sort of how that is. And then at the end, the members do an exit survey, and then we ask for host site supervisors to fill out one more form. Janine, is that right?
So yeah, they do that pre in the beginning, and then the post, which essentially helps us and you recognize how much the AmeriCorps member has hopefully built your capacity. So it's internal for you to see, wow, this person actually did things, right? And you go through each of the elements of effective practice, or many of them, and say, did they enhance your recruitment? Did they enhance your screening, et cetera? And then we're able to look at that. And that's how, as we go, every 3 years and reapply for funding from CNCS, we're able to say, wow, that's why this year we really looked at the data and saw that for startup programs, this is a great opportunity. And so for us, even reporting to our funders, are saying, this opportunity, we want to make sure we have at least 6 startup programs in here, because we know it really builds the capacity in that way. So it streams through all of it. You do pre and post reporting. That helps us, and it also helps you to say, wow, this person really built my capacity. I want to do it again next year.
Okay, yeah, good, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk about it that much, but it is true, Janine, having just resubmitted to CNCS, there is an evaluation component. And I think everybody in this field understands why we have to evaluate. And yeah, we want to know that we're having the impact that we want to have. And if we find out along the way that that's not the case, that's important, right? Or, yay, wahoo, look at all this great work that's happening, right? And sort of trying to articulate that and make that clear to ourselves, and then sort of give that back to you all. Okay. Yes, Jake.
So for
where are you from, Jake? Where are you from?
Oh, sorry. Hi. So I'm from Redgate Farm Education Center. We're out in Franklin County.
Yes,
so
you are.
Western Massachusetts. And we're a youth development organization, but we're not the typical one-to-one mentor-mentee. And so I was wondering, when you talk about the definition of recruitment, one thing that we're doing is growing our school partners. And so could our AmeriCorps service member help us in that sense in connecting with more schools to bring their students to the farm? Would that be eligible? And then one thing that I'm also curious about is evaluating our program. We haven't really been effective yet at measuring the impact of what we do with bringing students to the farm. And so I think those are the 2 biggest elements. I think that personally, an ambassador could be really good for our organization, and was just wondering if that qualifies.
I saw Janine look up to the heavens to find out. So she's going to be inspired in her response. Okay.
I think, so for us, what you're describing, we would call partnership development, which would be perfectly appropriate, but we would want to be sure that your mentoring model, you can do group mentoring, you can do different kinds of models of mentoring. It doesn't have to be the traditional one-to-one, but in some way your program would have to use the elements of effective practice. And so they would have to recruit, screen, train, match, do match support, and then do closure, right? So those elements have to be there somewhere, or be in development for you to be able to have access to an AmeriCorps member, even if we have people out there doing partnership development, so that we can get more partners to stream young people in through a program that uses those 6 elements. So that's going to be the main tricky thing. If you, and we can talk more about this offline.
Okay.
If you're not doing that, because that's essentially what we assess on as well, it would kind of fit more into, and this is where M&P outside of the AAOM program is much more broad, right? We believe and know that relationships are important in all ways, but this is one very specific way of doing relationships that, because especially with the way we've written the program is grant funded, we have to align to those 6 standards. So we can talk more about that. Even, I mean, obviously we'd love to support you and help you. I think you must have come to M&P Connects or something. You look really familiar.
I had, yes,
okay.
I believe it was, you were working with Cameron.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that. Right. So obviously we'd love to help you in any way, but that would be the main thing that I'm thinking about for if you'd be able to get AOM, and the evaluation stuff for sure. But are we evaluating the EEP stuff?
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Janine, I think I will send you an email then to see maybe if there's a better suited program for things I'm thinking about.
Okay.
I guess the other question I had,
but Jake, I just have to insert here. My kids, because you guys have been around for a while, and my kids went out and watered and fed the ox. And so I would have a personal reason. I would have a personal reason for wanting you to apply. Okay. I'm just saying, do you still have the ox?
Yes,
oxen?
we do. We have
okay.
a pair of oxen.
Yeah. And I'm telling you that you want to talk about a great mentorship experience.
If you all can make it work, if you and that ox can figure it out, then we're happy to support you.
That's great to hear, Rosie. Yeah.
You had another question though. Go ahead.
Oh, well, it was because I guess for AmeriCorps programs, usually we provide housing for all of our full-time staff. And so I'm thinking that, you know, if whether it was this specific AmeriCorps program or a different one, is that part of it? If we tell the AmeriCorps ambassador that we can also provide housing, or that's separate, that we kind of negotiate with them outside of the acceptance of the program?
So that is tricky as well, because for us and AmeriCorps, there's it would be an equity thing for us, right? Not every host site could offer that, right? And that would obviously offset member expenses greatly. So I can say, I believe that has happened in the past, but we have nothing to do with that and can't have anything to do with that, right? Gotcha. And because it would be viewed as, okay, one program has an advantage over others, that then all members equitably would not be able to access that kind of resource. So I know, again, that would be something that we would talk about offline and figure out how that can be, you know, because each host site has benefits of, you know, their host site that, you know, I don't even know what they're doing, and it makes sense, and it works out with the AmeriCorps member, and especially in COVID, people have all kinds of arrangements that certainly makes sense. But that's a pretty big one that, you know, gives you essentially an upper hand in your recruitment and everything. There are some programs that's actually for AmeriCorps that's built into their model. That's not one for us.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm just going to, for the folks who are left, which aren't many, you should definitely watch that video with the members themselves saying what they know they do, because it's a lot of different things, and you can see how jazzed up they are. And you basically, you know, you get extraordinary people power, people and mind power, people, mind and heart power added to your program. I mean, for me, it's like, without question, why wouldn't you want it? But you know, I'm sold, right? And trying to sell you all, but it's a great program. It's a really great program. And Jake, don't tell anybody what I just sent you in the email, okay? in the chat. All right, so thank you, Kendi. Thank you, Bert and Jake. And really, we're here, myself or Janine, to answer further questions. You have enough time. You have plenty of time between now and the due date. And if questions arise, feel free to come and ask us.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. This was helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Greg and Janine, as always.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
excellent.
everybody.
Have a good afternoon. All right. Okay. Bye-bye.